Very good. Welcome to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of July 24th, 2019. Would you be kind enough to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. So Steve, for the folks at home, if you'd be kind enough to pan over to the screen so they can see the agenda items that we'll be discussing tonight. It's a rather long list. I'm hoping, however, that since most of them are just really resolutions, formalities, that it won't be as intimidating as it looks. Okay, very good. We begin tonight's meeting. We didn't have a first meeting of the month in July, and so we have both our supervisor's report and our clerk's report tonight. And so we'll start with the supervisor's report. We had an opening balance. This is for the period June 1st through June 30th, 2019. And you have your various financial reports in your packet. We had an opening balance of $6,862,000 and change. We had receipts of $7,321,000, disbursements of $5,778,000, closing balance of $8,405,548.52. Part of those numbers, receipts and disbursements, reflect the funds coming in from our bond offering, and also just transfers into the New York class. We are very fortunate that the rates we're getting on our money and the rates that we paid for our bond offering are quite similar.
The CPF amount, it has $500,000 in another different account, right?
Right, so you'll see that your reports have the New York class amounts, and I think actually, Harry, she has done a separate sheet for you on the CPF. Yeah, I'll give it to you here. Do you want my copy?
Okay.
$1,000,004.
Okay, right now it's 1.445 million in the Community Preservation Fund account.
Yeah, this shows the two amounts. I don't need this.
Okay, well, it's in your packet. I just wanted
is it?
you to see, yeah. Okay, we also have some proposed budget adjustments. You see the reflection of the bond proceeds coming in and other adjustments broken out by the various funds. And some of the proceeds were for work recently completed with the Rec Park Playground. And then you have your monthly variance report, which looks good, nothing standing out. Looking very well, budget to actual at the half-year point. Are there any questions about the supervisor's report or the budget adjustments?
Everything looks good.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
All right, you're going to approve both the supervisor's report and the adjustments, sir?
Both, right.
Okay, then a second by Sarah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll have the clerk's report, and Claire is with us tonight to give that.
Okay, the town clerk's report for the period of June 1st to June 30th, 2019. Total local shares remitted to the supervisor as town revenue, $1,592.82. Amount paid to New York State Ag and Markets for the spay and neuter program, $49. Amount paid to New York State Department of Health for marriage licenses, $90. And amount paid to New York State DEC, $236.18. For a total of state, county, and local revenues of $1,968. Pursuant to Section 27, Sub 1 of the Town Law, Sue McCann certifies that the foregoing is a full and true statement of all fees and monies received by her during the period stated above in connection with her office, excepting only such fees and monies, the application of which are otherwise provided for by law. Dated July 2nd. July 2nd.
Very good. Is there a motion to accept the clerk's report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, announcements. We have several announcements tonight. We are very happy to say after probably a year of planning by the fire departments themselves, that the date is now approaching, the weekend to celebrate the 100th anniversary of both our Red Hook and Tivoli fire departments. That's the weekend of August 16th and 17th. There's a celebration here Friday, late afternoon, evening at the firehouse. The big celebration, however, is Saturday, the 17th. It starts at 2 p.m. at the firehouse, and the county convention and parade starts at 5 p.m. at the middle school. Will work its way to Park Avenue, to Route 9, and then down 9, and then over Firehouse Lane to the firehouse. There is expected or acknowledged already 40 fire departments that will be marching in that parade. It's going to be quite a wonderful event, and of course we want to take the time to acknowledge the terrific service of both fire companies. So that's August 16th and 17th, and as the date approaches, we'll send out a reminder notice through our news alert. So that's a cue for me to remind folks at home that if you want to find out what's going on with your government, log on to redhook.org, go to notify me, and sign up for alerts on topics that you're interested in. We have the CAC would like to remind folks that Repair Cafe, the monthly event at the community center, is happening this weekend, Saturday, July 27th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And you can bring lots of items to be repaired for free, essentially. Sarah, do you want to give us some idea of some of the kinds of things that they can bring there?
Yeah, let's say there will be like bike tune-ups and electrical, like lamp and wiring kinds of repairs, and some jewelry repairs, and
Clocks and watches.
clocks and watches, and I think the bike tune-ups is the big one this time.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what else. Maybe some like make your own bag activities, like out of old t-shirts, like that kind of crafting kind of stuff.
Okay.
Check the website. I think we put up a page about it,
Okay.
and there's a lot on Facebook if you're
Terrific. We in conjunction with Sun Common, had a very nice Sun Carnival event this past weekend in the Red Hook Village parking lot. A lot of folks got to test drive electric vehicles and find out more information about the community solar project. If you'd like to find out more about the community solar project, you can log on to www.suncommon.com/redhook, and that'll give you more information. They are also holding 2 info sessions, Friday, August 2nd at the Red Hook Public Library, 4:30 to 7 p.m. and Saturday, August 3rd at Tivoli Village Hall from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So we'll send out a notice about these events and any other info sessions that we may have in the upcoming weeks. Folks always want to know, Hardscrabble Day who the headline act is, and it has just been announced, by the way. Hardscrabble Day this year is Saturday, September 21st, and the performer is John Waite. Many of you know him. He was originally, I think, in the band called The Babies, and he had lots of big hits, one of which was Missing You. I don't know if it's your era or not. Well, you would recognize the song, or When I See You Smile was another one of his big hits. So that's Hardscrabble Day, September 21st, which of course is always a Saturday. Art Studio Views, which is a multi-township event going everywhere from Hyde Park to Germantown. Artists open up their studios. That's Labor Day weekend. 33 artists are doing it. August 31st, September 1st, and we will have something on our website about that as well. And lastly, as part of the Think Differently campaign, on Saturday, August 3rd from 9:45 a.m. to 1 p.m., there's a baseball camp for children and young adults with special needs, and that's at Duchess Stadium, and participants of every ability will learn from professional players and coaches. A day fun-filled with Hudson Valley Renegades as well, included in that daily festivities. So those are the announcements I have. Does anybody else have any others? Okay, very good. If not, public comments. Would somebody like to make some public comments? Sir, if you would be kind enough to just state your name.
Sure. My name's Peter Buttonoff. I live on Rokeby Road in Red Hook. We're here tonight to find out about the dog park. We went to the July 8th meeting of the town of Rhinebeck, and they informed us that, the supervisor informed us that the town of Red Hook is going to be taking it over. So we're still a little in a confusion state. I think that the park is a valuable asset to the town, to both towns, and we would like to see it continued. So we want to see what you have on the agenda for tonight, and that's why we're here.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, they might have jumped the gun a little bit, but we do have that on the agenda
Okay.
to discuss.
Well.
Okay.
It's first item.
Okay. Okay, any other public announcements? Public comments? Okay. If not, let's dive right into that. That is a discussion about the dog park. And so, yes, as you mentioned, it had come to my attention, you and others have contacted my office, and obviously folks in Rhinebeck. Rhinebeck was interested in perhaps either shutting down the dog park or having somebody else take care of it, that it had not worked out as they had anticipated from a management standpoint and certainly from a financial standpoint. Folks were not coming to get their stickers apparently, or at least not in significant numbers. And so after 8 years, my understanding is they were contemplating whether or not to keep it open. And so they reached out to my office, and I communicated to the board members that we had to at least discuss what our response would be. And so as it turns out, we do have some folks here, some staff that we could conceivably allocate to maintain the dog park. And so we've asked John Kuhn, who's our rec director, to take a look at that and give us some sort of estimate. And we've been in touch with Rhinebeck to get some idea of what their normal protocol is and what's their experience, what's involved. And so that's what we have on the agenda tonight. For the first thing is to discuss this facility. So any thoughts folks have?
I had a conversation with John today,
Okay.
and he has, I assume you have this, right?
Uh-huh, we all do, yeah, his
okay,
memo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, he did have, and he's willing, he has set up with his people to do it. We have all the equipment we need and whatever we need. He needs about $2,500. This says he came up with $300 more after this. So I said we'd try and make it $2,500, so we had a little bit of fuzz in it.
Something tells me we'll be closer to 3 or 4 by the time it's all done, but that's okay.
Well,
Yeah.
it's in good shape now as it is, so it isn't likely to take much other than maintenance kind of things, day-to-day maintenance.
Well, I think there are some things they want to attend to. There's some pruning and so on and so forth, you know, one-time stuff or, you know, let's say not part of the normal maintenance that they want to tackle there. And, you know, we could see what we can do to contribute towards making it a better facility. Rhinebeck's done a very nice job, and we're very appreciative of that for 8 years. And so if it is a joint Red Hook Rhinebeck facility, it only seems fair that we do our part in taking over the maintenance. And certainly if we don't have a facility for folks to bring their dogs to, then they'll be bringing their dogs to places that perhaps are not as well suited.
Better there than the park.
Right, right.
All of the parcel is within the town of Red Hook, right?
Yes. The land is within the town of Red Hook, yeah.
Right.
Even though they've always used it.
Well, it's in the town of Red Hook, but I think it's part of the Rhinebeck
Yes.
recreational,
Yes.
what's the word there?
Complex.
Sweet
How's that?
complex,
Yes.
thank you, right, so
It's in
that's.
between 2 fields.
Right, so that's part of why it was always shared by the 2 towns, and that was, you know, you 2 were on the board when it got approved, right?
Yeah.
So you remember
I was.
I was here
I was
in
over there
Bill's
with
spot.
Old Piastro a lot at that time.
when they did it, and I think like, I guess a question I have is, does this change our actual agreement with the town of
Yeah.
Rhinebeck to share it?
We'd
Like,
have
how
to
will that?
modify it.
It
Yeah,
needs
we
a
have to-
tweaking, yeah.
Yeah.
But we will still jointly
Mhm.
own it, quote
Yes.
unquote,
Mhm.
whatever the,
Mhm.
or is that up for,
No.
No, it's still gonna be a Red Hook Rhinebeck
it would still be
facility.
a partnership thing, it's just that we're taking over.
We'll take over the maintenance.
That's all, that's all.
I mean, I'd love to see an agreement that was written in such a way to say like, that maybe every 2 years we like, or every so often we talk about it, and maybe it's even something where like, okay, for 2 years we'll maintain it, and then for 2 years they do, or whatever, but like a way that we still,
We don't want to turn it over too often.
you know,
It takes some
can
equipment
discuss a little
that
bit.
doesn't go
It's
with
on
it.
their sort of property, even though it's in our town, both of our residents use it. You know, I mean, we're not unfamiliar with shared services and how that works, and we just have to figure out a good way
What did he
to
say,
do
it was 8 years now then?
But I'd also like to hear a little bit from users of the park, yeah, like what it's like there, because I've heard sometimes like some of the maintenance stuff isn't just like the mowing and that kind of thing, but people maybe not cleaning up after their dogs, or, but I've just heard that as a rumor, so I'm curious like what your experience has been. It sounds like you like enjoy being there, and I just want, I've never been there myself, so I'd be curious just to hear what you think about it.
May I address that? or-
Yeah, if you don't mind
Oh, of
having
course,
them
yeah.
talk about it,
Sure.
yeah.
We've been a frequent user of the dog park for the last 3 years. And one thing that we find, I want to be careful how I say this because I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but the collection of fees, etc. I don't think people didn't know there was a dog park. And if somebody was walking down the street and say, you know, there's a dog park around here? Yeah, there's one up by the ball fields. Well, I never had any idea they had to pay, even though there was a sign out on the front of the park.
Right.
So that's one frustrating thing. The gate seems to be, the way the gate is constructed, or the gates, seems to always be out of alignment. The fence is pretty good, and it was put in 2013 by supposedly all volunteers with Rhinebeck money.
Right.
That's the way we understood it.
I think they fundraised a little bit for it, but yeah, it was all,
I'm not
it was all
sure
the
of all that,
volunteers. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
No,
It was
it wasn't a
joint funds
professional,
at the
I
time.
wasn't around.
it wasn't like a
2013,
contractor or somebody
so-
who did it. It was volunteers, yeah.
The fences stood up really well. There's people that use the park that aren't real good about cleaning up after their animals, which is a very frustrating thing.
Yeah.
But there's no way anybody can really enforce that.
Right.
So, but the park is certainly a useful thing, and it's really great.
Does it have like one of those little things with dog bags, you know, the bags for
It
things?
is, but a
It
lot
has-
of times it's empty.
Yeah.
You know, that has to be maintained.
It's in the budget that John
Yeah,
came up
I
with.
know. But,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know, and there's two parks. There's really
Yeah.
one for little dogs
Right,
and
small
one for
and
big
large.
dogs.
Mhm.
And sometimes people don't follow that too well either, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of, when you're there, you kind of gotta try to suggest, because there's no enforcement on anything, so.
Right.
But, anyway,
Okay.
does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, no, that helps. I mean, it's a difficult spot because it's kind of out there.
Well, that's
far
the
away
other
from
thing.
any- Right, so,
It's out in no man's
Yeah.
land, so
Yeah.
there's, you know,
right,
there's nobody that really watches it,
right,
so, you
yeah.
know.
And I think they deemed it impractical, and that's why we're talking about whether there should even be fees to begin with, because so few people sign up for it. And the amount of money that's generated, even if everybody did sign up for it, is fairly insignificant. I mean, it's wonderful to get the revenue in. I'm not necessarily sure that it's worth the administration for such a small amount of money.
Correct.
For folks to sign up for it. And we want to encourage the dogs to go in the right places, because we've had issues of dogs going in the wrong places, like in our new playground, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And
So-
if I may say so,
Yeah.
before I forget this one, if the dog park did go away,
Yeah.
and we've seen people up there doing it, they'll just put them in the ball fields,
Right.
okay? Not that that affects Red Hook so much, but, you know, that's what they do. Because people
Affect us too, yeah.
People are frustrating sometimes, you know, we find it, you know, so,
That's why it's there in the first place.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks very
I
much.
guess I feel like with the fee situation, I look at it a little bit like the recycling center. Like, it's not like the sticker fees are paying for the whole center, but it is like a way for people who use it to be, you know, contributing a little bit toward the whole operation of it. It's like, it's a way that we have operated other sort of specialty town services. It's like something that the town is certainly covering in the larger sense, but it's like a way for resident use to sort of defray the cost.
Yeah,
And I guess I wonder, like, it's, just to follow that up, I just wonder like how much it's really been advertised, you know? Like, I've never seen anything about it really on Facebook or,
They,
I don't know, like any.
they
yeah.
recently started a Facebook page,
Mhm.
A
and
Facebook.
in one day they had 70 members.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, go ahead, Teresa.
I just have a question about the way the fees are collected. Is it January, or is it when you start?
I don't know,
How do
yeah.
you get fees?
Right.
That's Rhinebeck's thing.
Yeah,
They're
it's
the ones
Rhinebeck's.
collecting it.
Yeah.
Because
everything
sometimes,
goes through
like the
Rhinebeck.
recycling center, they only start
Yeah,
charging in January, and then
Right,
some
right,
people
right.
get halfway through, and
sure.
they would rather start when they start, but I don't know if that's an administration nightmare.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
people, the thing is that people have to notice that you don't have a sticker, you know, which obviously, there's nobody out there at the dog park like looking to see if people have a sticker, you know.
It's very impractical, and I think Rhinebeck recognizes that now. It's impractical to enforce that.
Yeah.
The difference between the recycling and the garbage is that you have to have, you're forced to pay somebody, whether it's our recycling center or an individual hauler. You're not forced to pay for putting your dog somewhere if.
No, there's a fee to use the recycling center, period, whether you dump your trash or not, 2 separate fees.
No,
You have to purchase an annual ticket,
Yeah, but
right?
you're not understanding my point.
What?
My point is if you have garbage, you have to pay somebody, whether it's our recycling center
Sure, yeah,
or
it's
an
recycling.
individual
Uh-huh.
hauler. You have free choices with your dog. And so if your free choice is that you're gonna bring your dog to our recreation park and the dog's gonna go on the new playground, because that's free
I mean,
versus
technically
having.
though, you don't
Yeah.
really, because you don't have off-leash free options, right? Like technically, of course, people are putting their dogs off-leash all kinds of places, but technically, whether you go to Poets Walk or any of these other places, unless you find some random field, you really should not be having your dogs off-leash.
And
And it-
that's not really enforced at the rec park.
Yeah, I mean, it should probably, whatever, you know, it's like one of those that's, obviously, it's like older kids playing on the toddler side of the playground. It's kind of up to you whether you want to be that parent to go up to them and say, hey, your 10-year-old shouldn't be on the 2-year-old slide, you know, right? Your big dog shouldn't be in the small dog section, or hey, do you have a sticker, right? Like, there's a limit to what that is, but.
We should send you out there to enforce all this.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. Is there any money in that? That'd be great.
Um,
Anyway, I just think if we wanted to, I don't see any hurt to continuing a fee. Like, somebody is here to collect fees anyway for stuff, you know? And I think it's like one of those sort of more
I'll
specialty
bet
services that we
I'll
offer.
bet they get $50 in fees for the year.
They get very little,
Yeah.
it's gone way down, and
Yeah.
the thing is, people wanna use it, you'll have out-of-town guests, and they would, they want that dog to go to a place where a dog should be versus where a dog shouldn't be, they don't know the dog. And so, they wanna know about the dog park. I'm reluctant to make it hard for folks, it seems
I
like a
suggest we
nominal
ignore the fee.
You can just take it out.
Larry, we have to look at the agreement.
It's in the agreement right now, we
No
can take it
sense
out.
spouting
It sounds
off
like we're
about what-
revising it anyhow.
Yeah, I
We're
think
bound
one
by
of
the
the reasons for the
agreement.
fee was partly to make sure that the dogs are
I don't think
licensed
there
when
is.
they're allowed in there.
Well, and so
That's really-
that's actually the thing that I'm more interested in,
Well,
is like,
there was.
that
I know.
we don't enforce licensing, really. I mean, we do if a dog gets picked up by the dog control people or, accused of attacking people or something, but otherwise, like, it's not like I do think if that was part of it, was people would come in to get a sticker for that was the theory, would use the dog park and then also have to license their dogs, But that's a sort of a separate thing, but it's related in the sense that I think dog licensing is another thing that we really don't communicate a lot about and do like a push to like get people to license their dogs.
Yeah.
I'd like to see us use the new website a little bit more that way, because if we could enable it with third-party payment, then I think that would be like a really easy form to fill out online, get your license, then it's mailed to you, pretty like easy. I don't care about the fee, I'm just pointing out, I think it is similar, I still think it is similar, but.
We can't, like the recycling center, there's somebody there, as you said earlier, there isn't anybody at the dog park. And so if we start getting into a whole nother thing that we have to worry about enforcement, I just don't think it's worth the money. Rhinebeck doesn't seem to think it's worth the money either at this point, because people aren't coming to get the stickers because there's no enforcement of getting the stickers.
Could you mind if I just say something about that?
Sure.
My 3 years there,
Yeah.
I don't need the microphone, but my 3 years there, first year I was issued a receipt. And John and I, the town clerk, we've talked about this numerous ways, and I'm not throwing him under the bus. The second year, there was no receipt.
Okay.
All right, just don't worry about showing your canceled check. Well, that doesn't work. And the third year, again, no receipt. And there was never been a tag since we've been there. So, there was very little of that part taking effect, really. I just wanted to mention that because you mentioned about having a receipt or a tag, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So,
All right, well, it sounds like we have more discussion, we're kind of split on the whole fee thing at the moment. But what about taking over the maintenance of it? I think Rhinebeck is eager to hand over the keys, if you will.
John said he's ready to do it now.
John's ready, he's got his crew
All
ready
he
to
wants is
go.
$2,500 more a year in his budget.
Well, there'll be a separate line for this one, but
Yeah.
Although we can call dog park recreation, sure. Are we okay with that? And then we
Yep.
could work on the specifics of the IMA, tweak that?
I think it's fine,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't say we're split on the fee thing. I think we're all probably agreed that it's just not enforceable really, and it probably is more of a pain than it's worth, but I still think like if we could do some kind of like, I think this thing with enforcement and the fees is related in the sense that like if you could have like say a friends of the dog park kind of situation where you had people who felt invested and are regular users of the park and who are there and can kind of speak from a position of like, hey, I'm like a,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like a warden of the park, or I'm
I see a
It's
couple that are gonna
right.
volunteer for
See,
that.
I think there's 3 right here. And I think there's a lot of people who really feel invested in like places for dogs to be
Yeah.
and stuff. And I think that might be a way, I'm not saying that a fee helps with that, but in some way creating a buy-in, I think that was part of the idea, was like you're creating a buy-in and a feeling that like you're a part owner in it, sort of, you know what I mean, that you have invested a little bit in this opportunity, right? So I don't know how we can create that, but I think if we could do that, it would be worth a try to figure out a way, you know, a little, I don't know what, but.
Well, I just philosophically am opposed to user fees. I think they separate people out in our community, those who have the money for, you know, those kinds of things, whether it's our pool or whether it's our, you know, other activities. So that's just a general sense. I think you pay taxes and, you know, you should get the available services. Everybody should, regardless of what their financial status is in general. I recognize this is a small fee, but if you don't have that last 15, you don't have the new 15, so. All right, shall we, how about a motion that we accept the invitation, how's that for phraseology?
Yeah, how about that
Of
one?
the town of Rhinebeck to start maintaining the combined Rhinebeck-Red Hook Dog Park located on Yance Road off of Stone Church.
Maybe like pending revision of our agreement or something, or
Right,
like
right,
whatever.
right. And would you authorize the supervisor to work with the town attorney on a revised IMA to reflect that?
So moved.
Second.
All right, sounds like we're about to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you all very much, and thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much. And we look forward to some ideas from you on how we can make the park even better, and we'll give it a try. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you all very much for coming. Okay, very good. We're on to agenda item 2. It's a resolution to authorize letting of bids and revised grant application amount for a rec park improvement. So the revised is only the grant amount for our CFA grant. Okay, there's nothing revised about the plan, it's just Brandy is here to tell us at our last month's meeting, we talked about having the ability to apply for up to $600,000. We authorized a grant application up to that amount, and now you are coming to us and explaining to us what you think we can apply for in this 50-50 match application, is that right, Brandy?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you this budget summary and this schematic plan. I think Robert's gonna try and put it up on the screen.
Do you wanna look at budget first, or you wanna look at schematic?
Well, let's look at the schematic,
Okay.
because that'll explain it. So, good evening, so I'm Brandy Nelson from Ty and Bond. We're working with the town on recreation park improvements. We've talked before about it being a multi-phase effort. Part of the multi-phase approach is to try and seek grant funds for various portions of the project. And so on the screen this evening is a figure that will be included in the grant, and The explanation that goes along with the grant request is that the facilities portion of the project, so that's the infrastructure, unisex, ADA accessible toilet facilities with the concessions and the related storage and mechanical space that you need for those buildings. So it's that facility, that restroom facilities building, the water service that would need to come from Fruit Bud Lane, a new septic system that would need to be constructed, and the electric service that would need to be run down to the building. So that's the focus of the grant. The town, as a first phase of the project, is working with Winnicke on the trailhead piece, which will be at the far end of the parking area, the most westerly end of the parking area, right where the cursor is right now. And then the natural turf Little League field is also proposed to go in as this first phase of construction this fall. The concessions building and the related infrastructure is something that's easy to pull out as a separate phase. So we want to seek funds for that under this current CFA. We had gotten some feedback from Office of Parks previously because those grants are very competitive. And they suggested that we emphasize the diversity of users that would use those facilities. Being situated near the V2B trailhead, which will also tie to the Winnicke Trail, helps also draw users from Bard, from Tivoli, from the Village of Red Hook, and also it's a linkage between the Village of Red Hook and the Empire Trail. And there are no unisex ADA accessible restroom facilities between Kingston and Hudson, based on what we've done as far as some research on that. So it would be an essential facility that would be made available. So we're hoping with all those pieces and all the collaboration that the town has done with the villages and with the land trust, that will put forward a really strong application. So the graphic goes along with the narrative in the grant that explains the multi-phase approach that the town is taking to this project, and then the budget, which I provided for you guys also in the handout, is really specifically the facilities piece of the infrastructure and the restroom facility. In your packet also is the when we did our costing exercise, we contacted several vendors that provide these prefab recreation facilities with the ADA restrooms, and so there is, for purposes of submitting to the grant funding entity, but also for your information, a schematic layout for those facilities.
Okay, so this is more detail than what we had at last month's meeting. We were just talking about resubmitting the same application, or essentially the same application, and this is slightly pared down, then it sounds like.
That's
in order
it's
to
targeted.
make it more
Yeah.
competitive. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm wondering, like, this is, since we decided to move the Challenger field to the other side of the road, right?
Yep.
It's still called Red Park Expansion / Challenger Field. Is there like is that the name of this whole thing, or do we want to call it something else?
We've been
Like,
struggling to
yeah.
find the right word. I
Right.
think what we're settling on, and I appreciate you pointing that out, we are settling on recreation park improvements, just generic, trying to not call it out as east or west,
Yeah.
Right.
specifically, because
Right,
we're trying
leave it
to.
as a one complex.
Exactly, yeah.
What size field is it? Is this a Little League field?
This is a Little League field.
Does everybody know that the Little League says they don't need any more fields now,
That-
from what I heard?
So that's not necessarily what I've been hearing. What I've been hearing is that there's also a desire to have an additional adult field.
Mhm.
And I have talked with John about how that could be accommodated. The multi-purpose turf fields physically have the space to accommodate another adult field. So there's enough geometric space available in there to meet the dimensions of an adult field.
Adult field would be very expensive, and we would be providing as an adult field that would be serving the region, not just the town.
So my understanding is that.
I would be unwilling to spend that kind of money to provide a regional facility.
Yeah, so we're not talking about actually constructing an adult field, Harry. What we're talking about is that the space would be available and that space could be chalked for practice. So from talking with the school district when we did the fields needs assessment, the issue is that there's sometimes some limited time for both JV and varsity to practice, and they'd love to have 2 fields. But what we're saying is we can provide the geometric space for it, but it's not going to be a regulation field. So I think, just trying to be cost conscious there. They've got the space, they could chalk it for the use, they could do practices on it, but they're not going to play games on it. And
Now, what are you talking about, this field?
that's the Little League
Or
field. And then
putting one here?
Right, if you look at the schematic that I handed out,
Well, we have
On this-
a much greater need for soccer fields than we have baseball fields.
well, so that's the beauty of these multi-purpose fields. It's big, flat areas that can serve multiple purposes depending on how they're chalked.
But the soccer is different than baseball.
But the-
They want grass.
The intent is to be flexible in these spaces. So if you just had a practice field, you've got the flexibility. You can play soccer on it, or you can do your baseball practice.
Yes,
So again, it's not a regulation game
I know what
It
you're
won't be
saying.
like with the sand and the dirt, for a baseball field. They'll just chalk it so that you could practice on it at least, and there's the space to do that.
I can see war,
Between the sporting entities.
soccer and
I
baseball.
think, we've talked to John about that too, and there is room for scheduling, so I think we're providing the space for more flexibility to give the town more options, and then it's gotta be dealt with from a scheduling
I
standpoint.
think we need to talk to the soccer league, which is important. Are you aware where our soccer fields are now?
Yes.
Very temporary.
Yeah, that's my understanding. But they'll have flexibility to use this space also, so that's the intent, is to provide the town the maximum amount of flexibility.
I guess I'm seeing it as cast in iron as soccer fields.
Okay, well, that's of course down the future, that area. Right now, we're just talking about this grant for the infrastructure that goes on the other side of the road. And the specifics involved with the grant that's due at the end of this week that Brandy's been working so hard on, and we appreciate that. And thank you for coming tonight.
Sure, no problem.
That detail. Any other questions for her before we just have 2 resolutions, one to revise our resolution from last month, and then we have a resolution to go out to bid on the rec park improvements as well. So, resolution number 73 rather will be a revision to our previous resolution. It's authorizing an application for a grant for a recreation park project. The grant amount is now $378,350 for improvements, including a building with 4 unisex ADA accessible bathrooms, concessions, and a water bottle filling station, related septic, water, and electric utilities, subject to a match by the town of an equal amount. And I so move resolution number 73. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
And then the next resolution is to go out to bid, so we can get bids for all this work that we have proposed for essentially September.
Yes.
The construction of which, and that's resolution number 74, authorizing the solicitation of public bids for the rec park improvements, and I so move resolution number 74.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is this for money to build baseball fields and
This is already the approved plan and the bond resolution.
for the whole thing?
It's just for phase 1 of this project, which is
How
the
much?
Challenger.
$3 million?
No, Harry, we went over these numbers before. We're borrowing 1.5 for all the rec improvements, including the playground. It's already built into the budget. We're all done with that stuff, Harry. This is, that ship has sailed a long time ago. This is just a resolution authorizing the letting of the bids, okay? This is not a discussion of the, reopening of the plan. So, to answer your question, it's just to go out to bid on what we've already approved.
I'm opposed to spending the kind of money. It's over $3 million for the whole project.
No, Harry, it's not over $3 million. This is just to authorize going out to bid. Are you prepared to authorize going out to bid or no?
Not unless I see the plan. What plan?
Oh, Harry.
The plan we had
We've been
before.
Yes, we've been over this for the last.
Oh, I know,
Okay.
and I have had a problem with it since the
Okay.
get-go.
A motion, a second to the motion, please?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
No.
Okay, we got 3 yeses and 1 no. All right, third item on the agenda is a resolution to authorize letting of bids for sealing and striping the parking lot. Our relatively new parking lot, we want to keep in good condition, and so it should be sealed and cracks should be filled, and we know about that. We have some general specifications, and Brandy's been kind enough to review that for us as well.
And just to clarify, I think
It's
the
an RFP.
estimates at this point were that it was going to be under $35,000.
Under
So you're going
35.
to use the simpler RFP process that Ted would manage? That's
Right.
the proposal, okay?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
just to clarify?
This is resolution now 75, I believe, Claire?
Yes.
Okay. It's authorizing the issuance of a request for proposals for seal coating and striping town parking lots, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Sarah seconded it.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and in that packet you have all of the documents, including already from our attorney to the town, the proposed contract with the vendor. So as soon as we award it, oh, and this brings to mind a question. We'd like to have the bids in time so that we can do this at the end of Fair Week, August 23rd. What I'm proposing is that we, if we do accomplish that, we actually close town hall for the full day on Friday, August 23rd. In part because it's a prevailing wage job and there'll already be overtime for the weekend portion of the job as well, and try to keep the costs down. If we could allow the contractor to at least have one full day, the first full day, to do work, so that would be August 23rd. So provided we get a bid in, an acceptable bid, are you agreeable to closing for that Friday? It should be fairly slow.
Have you looked at the fair schedule? Because I think Thursday is the day where you buy a bracelet and you get to ride all day. So I'm just saying, on behalf of town employees, you might want to just look at
Well,
the fair schedule.
No, but
That's all I'm saying.
the work is being done over the weekend, but, yeah, sorry. I think the
Try.
town employees are, yeah, not necessarily going on those rides, but maybe
you
they
sure?
are, I don't know,
They're pretty fun.
I don't acquire those things, but, okay, so I think we voted and we are all in favor of that? Yeah, we did, resolution.
I don't think I heard a real vote. Do you want to do
All in
it?
favor? Aye,
Aye.
I thought we did, okay.
No, we didn't.
My apologies.
Ride bracelets for all.
23rd, yeah.
Okay, Sarah's bringing us all bracelets to the next meeting. So we have a couple of resolutions related to HVAC equipment. So in talking to Judge Jonah, we realized that in swapping out our very old and inefficient HVAC equipment, that there's a significant portion of the building that's dedicated to the courtroom here, and so we'd like to take that annual grant opportunity in justice courts and apply some of the project to that grant, and once again reduce the cost for both of those things. So we do have 2 resolutions. One is, we'll take item number 5 first, if we could. That'd be resolution number 76. It's authorizing the town to pursue a grant application to obtain funding for the town of Red Hook Justice Courts. And they would like to apply for two things. One is the HVAC system, and also the clerks are interested in getting a counterfeit money reader. I hope we haven't had problems with counterfeit money here, but I think that's the purpose of having one of these machines, is to make sure we don't.
Does Claire get to use it?
We do have a blank in the first resolution. We needed to establish how soon you're gonna be issuing the bid date and so when your earliest bid would be expected to be back.
Yes, on the HVAC.
Yes, right.
We should try and do that by
Yeah, we wanna
early
get that
fall.
done. No, yeah, sure, Harry. I mean, the more we can do it during the slow time of year, you're absolutely correct. Well, let's take 76 for now, because that's not a date-related one. So I'd like to move that resolution, which is to go out for the grant, and it's up to $30,000, and we'll apply for the whole amount.
So 76 is the Justice Court, okay.
Yep, is the Justice Court one.
Second? Did
Uh,
you so move that, or?
I
you
did,
just-
that's a
I'll
second.
second that.
All right, further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so go back to the item number 4 on the agenda, we'll call it Resolution 77. I think that we will be ready to let that bid by Monday.
Do we have an engineering
Yes.
specs on it and whatever?
We do have, if you read in the resolution there, Harry,
Yeah, but it doesn't say very much. It doesn't.
well,
that's
it
not
does
adequate
though,
specs, I don't
actually.
think.
No, well, it does. It talks about 2 5-ton air source heat pumps and 1 3-ton, 3 air handling units. I noticed that the 1 3-ton isn't in there, so let's modify that.
2 5-ton and
2
one?
5-ton and 1 3-ton air source heat pumps and 3 air handling units, a new line set from outdoor units to indoor units, new plenum connections, touchscreen controls, removal and disposal of existing equipment, and reclaim action and/or proper disposal of refrigerants. And so I think Brandy's gonna take a look at this RP and see
It
if,
should say reclamation.
reclamation.
That should say reclamation. That's what that's meant to say.
There should be,
Reclaim
there should be a plan with this. It needs to be designed.
Well, yes, we've had several vendors through here to help us understand, but we want to see what their proposals are, and we want the engineer to review the proposals.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're expecting them to come up with proposals of what.
Exactly, but we've given these specifics for them to operate with, yes.
And
We've had determinations about what size air source heat pumps we need throughout the building, the original building and the extension, and so we've given those criteria. Within that, there may be some variance in their proposals, and we'd like to take a look at that and have the engineers
We
review them.
need some structural work too, which is gonna be, that's gonna be from the engineers.
Yeah. So, all right, dates. Beginning of late July, 3 weeks. Claire, do you have a calendar there with you by any chance?
No.
You don't, okay. Yeah. I'm afraid to. It was not mine. The 23rd is Friday.
Yeah, 23rd is a Friday, that you're gonna be closed, so.
Right. Why don't we, how about August 30th? Would that gives a full month. Does that make sense? That may be
I
too
mean, you
much
would wanna
time.
look towards the, when would you be awarding, for example, so you'd be awarding on the 8th? for
September 8th.
example, right, so then you'd want to leave yourself a week or so to review
Yeah.
the bids.
Yeah. And ideally, I'd like to get the work done even before that, before it starts getting a little,
Well, I mean, unless you're
Chilly.
gonna have a meeting the week of the 17th or something like that. I don't know what your plan is for the meetings in August,
yeah.
I mean, the week of the 19th.
We don't
You would normally have a meeting the 28th.
Well, you know, as Ted likes to say, you give them 20 days, they start working on it on the 19th day.
Well, I mean, so you could make it due on the 21st if you're gonna have your 28th meeting, I don't know if you are or not. You know,
That's not a bad idea. How about August 21st? Bids to be in, that gives them a full 3 weeks. It's not rocket science, it's swapping out HVAC equipment. Does that work, August 21st? All right, I so move resolution 77th. It's seconded by Sarah. Further discussion, all in favor? Aye, thank you very much.
August 21st, first, it'll be, it strikes me as almost impossible.
3 weeks.
For the,
Is it Wednesday?
yeah, I know, but, you know, to design the thing and get all the pieces of equipment or whatever.
There's not a lot of design, Harry. It's replacing the equipment that is here. If they want to make any changes to the ductwork in the
Well,
basement.
I'm not sure, the 21st is
Desirable.
doable. That's-
Okay, well, if we don't get enough
Well,
bids
we'll
or a satisfactory
you'll
one.
You'll figure it
Yeah.
out, that's all.
Okay. All right, we have, now we have a couple of intermunicipal agreements. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. Let's see if we can tackle 6 and 8 at the same time, if we could. The first is a resolution for some intermunicipal agreements. You know, we need to have on record, we're going to be starting to share some labor and equipment with the villages, and we need to have an IMA in place. And that's what these resolutions
Each
are.
village.
You
With
see,
each village.
yeah, I only have one resolution. Do you have 2 resolutions?
I think, don't we already have one in place with?
You have one.
We have 2 proposed.
It's, just kind of looking to make it
So we did
consistent.
that when they moved into the garage.
No, that's only for
That's
the
a sharing
garage
of the
though.
That was
facility.
supposed to be for
That's the
shared
garage.
services.
So I always saw it police and,
It's the same.
it's the same.
It's the same. It's
No,
just
I have-
it's just for sharing equipment as you feel
Yeah.
necessary, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, it's not anything else.
I have both resolutions. Do you
Okay, then
not
I
have
must
one?
have just.
One is the carbon copy of the other.
Packet.
Yeah, it's the same language.
Yeah, it should be, I just didn't,
Yeah,
I
Do
wanna
you
make
want
sure
Red
you
Hook or
have it.
Tivoli?
No, I'm all set, I've got one in my
Claire, are we
folder,
on
but I wanna make
78,
sure you have it.
79?
That's all. You're sticking around so much.
Yeah.
Okay, we are on number 6 is 78.
So I'm.
But there are 2 resolutions.
There are 2 resolutions that are
Right.
identical.
Right.
One is the Village of Tivoli and one is the Village of Red Hook.
Right.
Oh,
So
okay.
that'd
Okay.
be 78/79.
78 and 79. Village of Red Hook is 78, Claire. Village of Tivoli is 79.
Here's both of them.
there's 78, here's 79.
They're identical except the villages are different.
And this is very generic language
Yeah.
that our attorney has crafted for us. It's very short and sweet.
Is there none?
Yes.
Any questions? Okay, if not, I'd like to move resolution 78, which is an IMA with the town and the village of Red Hook,
Second?
dated July 24th, seconded by Bill. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Resolution 79 is a similar IMA agreement with the village of Tivoli. And I so move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. My understanding is soon we're gonna be assisting the village of Tivoli with some storm damage, tree-related work from that storm that had occurred maybe, well, it was a weekend before last or 2 weekends before last. It was right after the firehouse incident in Tivoli. It's been a very trying month for Tivoli, to say the least.
Yes,
And
it is.
whatever we can do to assist our neighbors, we're happy to do. Okay. Number 8, jumping around, sorry, there's an attachment. I think Teresa was here at an earlier meeting talking about how it would be helpful to have an attachment to that shared piece of equipment that we already have.
You talked about that already.
With the towns, right, and so this is, we just need to have an IMA, believe it or not, for that attachment. And so that's what resolution number 80 is authorizing that IMA. And now this is between the town of Red Hook, town of Milan, and town of Rhinebeck, and we want the folks at home to know that when we can, we try to share equipment between municipalities, especially equipment that we don't use all the time, as a way to be more efficient. Any questions about this IMA? It's fairly standard, and again, it includes the town of Milan.
So move.
All right, that's resolution number 80, and I would second that. Is there further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
And you
Thank
have
you
that.
very much.
Right.
All right. Very good. Moving right along, number 7. I think we spoke about this with our Department of State grant. We are updating our local waterfront revitalization program plan. And so we wanted to hire a particular consulting firm to do the mapping in the amount of $3,380.
I think we
Something
included
like
an authorization up to $3,800
Up to 38.
because there was an optional provision for, depending on how the
Depending on how it
procedure goes,
goes,
they may need
okay.
additional changes,
All right.
which, you know, so we
Fairly
include that
standard
in
to have
this
a little buffer.
authorization.
Okay.
Right, exactly. So it's an hourly kind of engagement,
So once again, we have a resolution and basically an agreement with all the attachments. And you can see the body of work that is being proposed starts at scope of services, page 2, which is halfway through the document. I apologize that it's part of their submission. It has a map on it if you're just quickly scoping through. And so the work and the staff is page 3. And then the fees, page 4. And the timetable, page 5.
What was the method for finding these people?
Paula did look at some alternatives and got recommendations from Ted and others. They originally tried to use a student, but that, you know, just really didn't work out very well this time. They needed some very specific professional skills. So they looked for recommendations. This is a relatively small contract, so under professional services, they just used a recommendation for someone who was qualified and could get it done in the amount of time they were looking for, so.
Okay.
yeah.
And this is grant funded, this work. This is all part of the grant we received. I believe it was $40,000 for this one.
Right, and Paula's leading that work.
Okay, so we have resolution 81. Agenda item number 7,
So move.
and I will second that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, thank you very much. Okay, we are now skipping on to agenda item 9. Tim Guinea, who many of you may or may not know, an actor involved with the Climate Reality Project. That is that organization that Al Gore started years ago. Is as part of his participation in that organization, going around to different municipalities, seeing if they are interested in doing, guess what? Committing to 100% renewables for their electricity. Well, town of Red Hook is well on their way to accomplishing that in a matter of months, as a matter of fact, between our community solar farm project and our community choice aggregation program. And so he is wondering if we would sign up, be one of those communities that has indicated its intent to go renewable for your electricity. Seems to me like a no-brainer, but if anybody has any questions
I
about
think it's a
it.
great objective, but I don't think I don't know whether it's realistic or not, because they haven't addressed how they would go about doing it. It certainly can't be done 100% with solar. How else we're gonna do it, I don't know. New York State says they can do it with wind off of Long Island, and it can handle the whole state.
Well, Costa Rica is 99% renewable.
Yeah, because
And that's
they
not
have
just-
waterfront.
That's not just, no, actually, they don't get it from their waterfront, Harry. Costa Rica, actually, they built lakes, they even relocated a little village. And their hydro comes from inland bodies of water.
All right.
And they have wind and solar as well. But this is just for electricity.
No, I know, it's just for electricity, but how are you gonna generate the electricity?
Well, Harry, I think between the projects that we're doing, I think we're gonna be pretty close to 100% renewable between our programs.
No, I just read a study that New York State has adequate wind to serve 11% of the state needs, and the remainder of it can be handled by dams and the wind off of Long Island.
Well, again, this is our community, Harry, that they're asking if we want to be listed as a community with the desire and commitment to transition to renewables for our electricity by 2030.
Okay. I mean, I like the idea, but I want to know what they're gonna do.
I just want to point out that part of the things it looks like we are committed to promoting the campaign on the town's website and displaying on the town's website the trademark and logo of Climate Reality. I just wondered if there's any specifications about like where we do that
Yeah.
and how.
Well, that's always a sticky issue. I mean, we even had a call from Greenway, and Greenway wanted to know where their logo was on our natural resources protection. So we understand that, and obviously we need to narrow the scope when anybody wants to use our name, the town of Red Hook, and our town attorney will work with any entity to make sure that we don't offer too broad a license. So, we certainly don't want to offer a license, but we can be listed perhaps as a community, just like we are with the clean energy community or climate smart community. We find that even the state agencies like to list our township.
I'm just saying like that it says here that we will put it on the website, so have you thought about where you would want to put that, or we should think about where would be, I'm sure the CAC wouldn't
CAC
mind
page,
having it on there somewhere, but we should just talk about where.
Where it would go.
And I just wondered if they had said anything, because I don't see anything in here about where they want you to put it, so. As long as we're not committing to like put it all over our main page or
Right,
something.
right.
Seems like it's pretty open-ended, so. Fine.
All right.
I
Ready?
don't think they know how they're gonna do it yet.
We've got resolution number 82. In support of the Climate Reality Project's 100% committed program, and I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. All right, reorganization. Just a couple of corrections, and then we'll take up the question first, perhaps. We had an interested individual, Vanessa Titchline, who would like to join the planning board. She's met with Sam Fallon, who recommends that she be appointed, and they have a vacancy, as you know. Are always wanting to have a full board to make sure that they have a quorum for meetings. And so that vacancy, if you're interested in appointing her to that, is the vacancy that would be up in the year 2020. So it gives her an opportunity, if you decide you would like to appoint her, to see how she likes being on the planning board. Her background, she's got an environmental degree, graduate degree, I believe, and she has a lot of knowledge that she can bring to the table. Any thoughts, anyone?
I think she's an excellent candidate, from what
I
I've
think we
read.
all agreed, yeah, in the emails.
Okay, very good. So I make a motion, we appoint Vanessa Kitchline, I think that's how you pronounce her name.
And, Mr. Supervisor, I just want to clarify the dates. I'm looking at the schedule. Did someone resign that isn't on this list?
Oh, I see. I'm looking at the vacancy for the alternate. Thank you for pointing that out. So the vacancy that's here for the regular planning board slot actually expires at the end of this year.
Right.
Well, that's all we can do. So we'll reappoint her in January as well. So to a term ending December 2019, I revise my motion. Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And just a couple of things that, corrections while we have the town appointments list, Claire. If we could just take a look at that. Do you have that draft with you, Claire?
The one you're looking at,
The one you're looking at?
It's on marks.
Oh, you've got a marked one. Okay. So yeah, just water district meter readers, there are a couple changes or change theirs. Cynthia has left, she's been replaced by Diana Thorley, so we probably want to make that change. Rec Commission, Yvonne Turchetti was replaced. We appointed Pat Bowman a while ago, but it hasn't made it to the list. To the liaison, Christopher Murphy is replaced
I think
by.
maybe you need to slow down for Claire.
Oh, I think she has it. Do you have a marked up one?
Diana Thorley, Water District Leader, right?
Right.
Jake.
Sorry,
that's-
Pat Bowman on Rec Commission instead of Yvonne Turchetti. I'll give you this sheet.
Okay,
So
got it.
you don't have to,
Pat Bowman and Robin Bruno,
right, exactly.
okay,
Um,
and Yvonne Fox.
right, so you have this sheet then. Okay, so I'll just read it out for the town board member, student member. There is no longer a student member for that commission, so if there's a student who would like to join the Rec Commission, please let us know. And then St. Margaret's Committee, well, that's not active right now, but there was someone who,
Tina Keel, I guess.
yeah. And Senior Services, Yvonne Fox is no longer on the Senior Services. So if we can make those corrections, adjustments. All right, any questions? All right, I so move we make those corrections to the listing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, thank you. All right, that's all we have for reorganization, so board reports. Can we start with Assessor Bill?
Yeah, for the month of July, the assessor's office was busy with tentative corrections for the enhanced star exemptions requested by the state, and it's going smoothly. As of July 24th, there had been 3 SCAR petitions received by the office, and they were working on these files. The county has now opened our RPSV-4 file for the upcoming 2020 roll. This is a little bit technical language, but the assessor is up and running, and for the month of June, they received only 4 sales for the town. lowest at $93,000 and the highest at $317,500, both single-family residences. As always, the assessor feels that they're working well and dealing very coordinatingly with the supervisor's office and all in town hall.
Great, thank you very much. Bill?
Can somebody remind me, just while we're on the topic of the assessors, with an assessment, the Board of Assessment Review, how many spots do we have right now? We pulled somebody out of retirement, right?
We pulled somebody out of retirement, so we have one vacancy,
Okay,
and we'll have a second vacancy again.
right, okay. I
So-
have somebody who might be interested, so I'll get him to send like a resume or something to the board to look at.
Terrific, great.
He's like a land surveyor, so.
Good.
I don't know,
Real
some
estate background.
experience, but not usually working locally, so that might be good too, just to,
Good,
lives locally but doesn't work locally kind of thing.
terrific. These two were all right. Harry, building and zoning, there's a summary sheet.
You know, there is. For July, there were 23 permits issued, 17 inspections completed. There were 19 certificates of occupancy. There were 6 violations for a total amount of revenue of $3,500.
Okay, very good. Bill, we have a police report.
For the period ending July 3rd of 2019, the Red Hook Police Department dealt with a total of 84 incidents reported. Of those, there were 8 arrests generated, and the total number of tickets that were issued during the period was 32.
Thank you very much, Bill. Harry, we have purchasing.
Purchasing, we had a total of 42,000 purchases for the month. The largest being 22,000 for chip seal and chip spreading. That's road servicing. We're moving forward with replacing copiers. We're working to install 2 electric charging stations for the buses.
For the vans, yeah. 2 stations, 4 more ports, yeah. Okay, Bill, to report on the working group.
Well, the working group met just one time in the last reporting period and continued to discuss the regulations proposed for regulation of short-term rentals in the town of Red Hook and Airbnbs. And so this discussion continues.
All right, thanks, Bill. Harry, can we let Sarah do the rec report since she hasn't done any reports yet?
You left that?
Oh, that's
I
next.
do feel that.
Tree.
I got trees next too, so I have 2. I've got
Okay,
2.
we each get 2.
Right there. So John has one in here about the summer recreation playground camp. It's been going really well. They made the jump to slightly longer hours this year, which I think parents are really appreciating, just word of mouth. So now it's 9 to 1, but it also meant a lot more requirements by the county health department, and so John and his staff have been working really hard to meet all of those. And, all the things are good things, like drinking water quality reports and first aid checks and all that, but it's definitely a lot to keep up with. And this year immunization records were required because of all the measles stuff and new state laws and things, and so all those have been a lot to contend with, but I think it sounds like they've really handled it really well. And I know just from observing personally that it seems like a really well-run program this year. They are doing a great job. The sign-ins are very clear and smooth for parents, so that's going well. And they've had all kinds of inspections and things that they've done. They also worked out an agreement with Red Hook School District to use the gym if they need to. I don't think they've had to use it yet, have they?
Not yet.
Right? So
Not yet,
that's,
they've gotten lucky.
that's maybe our record for this year so far, not to have to use it. Yeah, so it did require some extra funding, which I think we've seen in
Right.
budget adjustments, or have we been needing to
No,
adjust
no,
the
we had
budget?
it, we had it in our
Yeah,
budget.
we already had it, so.
It was contemplated, it was in response to parent requests.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit one of those things like John said about the dog park where like you don't really know what something will cost sometimes till you try it. And so this year, you know, with the added hours, I think now we're seeing what the expense is, but it seems like it's well worth it, so.
We're in their budget, we're in their budget on that item.
Yeah, so that's been happening, and then we've got the playground community build project, which is pretty much completed. There's still a bunch of things still to do. John and his staff will be working on new benches once the playground, the rec park playground camp is done. They can't, there's all these holes and things and cement pouring and things that are gonna need to happen, and so we do wanna reassure people that the benches will come back eventually. I think lots of people are like, whoa, what happened to the benches? It's just kind of impossible to do while so many people are running around constantly. And there's a bunch of other kind of small maintenance issues and things that they're keeping their eye on. New swings have been ordered, right, for the baby toddler side? And then, as we alluded to earlier, we're going out to bid soon. There's lots of new improvements to be made soon, fencing and bathrooms and all kinds of things. There'll be a little bit of additional signage. There have been some additional signage put up about all kinds of things, so everybody take a look. I feel like generally speaking, John's team has just been working so hard on all of it and really, oh, the pickleball, of course, is the thing.
Yeah,
I'm trying to skim through here to see if they said when it will actually, when they think it will be done, but
we're waiting on the vendor to do the coatings, unfortunately, yeah.
But sometime this summer anyway, we'll keep you updated, right? Pickleball is on its way. So that's very exciting, and there have also, I think we should probably mention, there's been some vandalism, and it's really just kind of sad and disheartening. You know, we're really trying to put so much work into an investment into that facility, and it's frustrating to see people misuse it and break things. So I think it gives us all a lot to think about. How can we, you know, enforce the rules there and keep everybody safe and keep our park looking, you know, working well. So we'll keep thinking about that.
Yeah, well, we have the police there every night now,
That's good.
doing drive-throughs, you know, to ensure we don't have, it was not significant vandalism, but sometimes it starts small and gets bigger, yeah. Good, thank you very much, and Sarah, a much shorter, tree preservation committee monthly report.
Okay, so tree commission members have been looking at, continuing to look at the Pitcher Lane project, and kind of like just working on the trees that are planted there and keeping an eye on them. And then they've been looking at the rec park a little bit and making sure to maintain plantings there. And they've been meeting with folks at the Rhinebeck Bank right across the parking lot here to see what can be done with the strip of land between the bank and the town building. And they've scheduled a work day in September to clean up the nature area at Mill Road Schools, so I'm sure everyone will appreciate that. And there's that nice little site near Devereux Way that they've been working on, so looks like all the new plantings up there are doing well. And they're going to contact the DEC about excessive use of herbicides on Route 9. So, and they're not gonna meet in August,
Okay,
taking a much deserved break.
very
But
good.
they've been hard at work.
Well, we're not supposed to be doing things to trees in August anyway,
I
right?
think that's right, yeah,
Okay.
timely.
Very good. Before we go into attorney-client, we have just one piece of correspondence, and it's from Department of Transportation telling us that when we want to have a speed limit reduction on roads from now on, they're going to require that we do an engineering study. This is very disappointing communication. Obviously, it makes it that much harder for us. As we've said time and time again, New York is a home rule state until, of course, you want to do something on your own local roads, and including speed limits. So, disappointing piece of correspondence there. All right. Could I make a motion, please? And thank you all for joining us tonight. Was there any public comment before we go into attorney-client? All right, if not, thank you all for joining us tonight. We hope you're enjoying the summer. It's gonna be a beautiful week up ahead. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion, we go into attorney-client. All in
Second.
favor?
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve.